Karim was drawn to the macabre. From a young age, he found himself captivated by the eerie and the unsettling, always seeking out the darkest corners of literature and folklore. He devoured horror stories, reveling in the chilling narratives and gruesome details. The more terrifying the tale, the more it intrigued him, feeding his insatiable curiosity. He sought out abandoned buildings, drawn to their decaying silence and the secrets they held. Each creak of the floorboards and whisper of the wind through broken windows spoke to him of forgotten histories and hidden horrors. His latest obsession was an ancient, dilapidated house at the edge of the village, shrouded by an eerie forest. The house, with its crumbling walls and overgrown garden, seemed to beckon him with promises of untold mysteries. Locals whispered tales of a haunting, their voices hushed and fearful. They spoke of shadows that moved on their own and ghostly figures glimpsed through the windows at night. They spoke of unexplained noises and a malevolent presence. The house was said to be cursed, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead was perilously thin.
But those are just superstitions. Stories to scare children and keep them away from danger. I need to see it for myself. I need to know if there's any truth to these tales.
Karim, fueled by his morbid curiosity, dismissed their warnings as mere superstition. He was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. He decided to spend a night in the house, eager to experience the terror firsthand. He wanted to feel the fear that had gripped the villagers for generations. His friends pleaded with him to reconsider, their faces etched with concern. They had heard too many stories of people who had ventured into the house and never returned.
Please, Karim, don't do this. It's too dangerous. You don't know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, man, this isn't a joke. You could get hurt, or worse.
But their words fell on deaf ears. Karim was too enthralled by the mystery to heed their warnings. Karim, blinded by his fascination, remained resolute. He was convinced that the only way to understand the house's secrets was to confront them head-on. He craved the thrill of the unknown, the adrenaline rush of fear coursing through his veins. The more dangerous the endeavor, the more alive he felt. As dusk began to settle, casting long shadows across the village, Karim packed his backpack. He knew that the night would bring with it the answers he sought. He included a flashlight, a first aid kit, a notebook, and a pen. He wanted to be prepared for anything and to document his experience in detail. He wanted to document his experience, to capture the essence of fear itself. Every sound, every shadow, every heartbeat would be recorded. With a mix of excitement and trepidation, he set off towards the forest, his silhouette disappearing into the deepening twilight. The path ahead was uncertain, but that only fueled his determination. The air grew heavy with anticipation, the silence broken only by the crunching of leaves beneath his feet. Each step brought him closer to the unknown. He could feel the weight of unseen eyes upon him, watching his every move. The forest seemed alive with whispers and unseen presences, but he pressed on, his resolve unwavering. He was determined to face whatever lay ahead, no matter how terrifying. He was determined to uncover the truth behind the legends, to confront the darkness that awaited him. The night was just beginning, and so was his journey into the heart of fear. The house loomed before him, a grotesque silhouette against the dying light. The windows were dark, vacant eyes staring into the night. The paint peeled from the walls like scabs, revealing the rotting wood beneath. The air hung thick and heavy, laced with the scent of decay and damp earth. Karim hesitated for a moment, a shiver running down his spine. The house seemed to exude an aura of palpable dread, warning him to turn back, but his morbid curiosity overrode his fear. He took a deep breath and approached the front door.
Here goes nothing.
The door creaked open with a groan, as if disturbed from a long slumber. The sound echoed through the stillness, sending a chill down Karim's spine. He shone his flashlight into the darkness, revealing a dusty hallway. Cobwebs hung from every corner, and the air was thick with the weight of forgotten memories. Karim stepped inside, his heart pounding in his chest. The door slammed shut behind him with a resounding boom. He jumped, his breath catching in his throat. The house was alive, its silence pregnant with unseen menace. He felt a cold dread creep into his heart, a primal fear he couldn't shake off.
It's just the wind, just the wind.
He told himself it was just the wind, but the rational part of his mind knew better. He was no longer alone. The house had welcomed him into its embrace, and he was now trapped in its sinister game. Karim stood frozen, listening intently. The air was thick with an eerie stillness, as if the very walls were holding their breath. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of his own breathing. Each inhale and exhale seemed amplified, echoing in the vast emptiness around him. He took a hesitant step forward, his footfalls echoing through the empty hall. The sound bounced off the walls, creating an unsettling symphony of echoes. He ran his hand along the wall, his fingers tracing the rough texture of the crumbling plaster. The sensation grounded him, a small comfort in the overwhelming darkness. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the silence. It was so sudden and so loud that it felt like a physical blow. It was a high-pitched wail, filled with terror and pain, the kind of scream that chills you to the bone and makes your heart race uncontrollably. It seemed to come from upstairs, echoing down the hallway and into the pit of Karim's stomach. The sound reverberated through the house, making it feel alive with dread. He froze, his blood turning to ice. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but his legs felt like they were made of lead. Fear gripped him, threatening to overwhelm his senses. His mind raced, trying to make sense of the situation, but all he could think about was the scream. He considered turning back, fleeing from the house and never looking back. The thought of safety was tempting, but something held him there. Rooted to the spot. It was as if an invisible force was compelling him to stay, to face whatever lay ahead.
What was that? The question echoed in his mind, demanding an answer. I need to find out. The need to understand, to uncover the truth, was stronger than his fear.
Was it morbid curiosity? Or was it something deeper, a primal urge to confront the unknown? Or was it something more sinister, a compulsion he couldn't explain? The scream lingered in the air, a phantom echo of terror. The scream lingered in the air, a phantom echo of terror. It was as if the house itself was haunted by the sound. Karim's heart pounded against his ribs, his breath coming in short, shallow gasps. He felt like he was on the edge of a precipice, teetering between fear and determination. He knew he should leave, but the scream had ignited a morbid fascination within him. It was a call he couldn't ignore, a mystery he had to solve. He had to know the source of that agonizing sound, to confront the darkness that lurked in the shadows. The need to uncover the truth was overpowering. With trembling hands, he reached for his flashlight, its beam trembling in his grip. The light cut through the darkness, offering a small sense of security. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. The air was cold and damp, filling his lungs with a sense of foreboding.
I'm in too deep now. The realization hit him like a wave, but it also steeled his resolve. I have to see this through. There was no turning back now, not when he was so close to uncovering the truth.
He was in too deep to turn back now. The fear was still there, but it was overshadowed by a burning need to know. He had to see this through to the end, no matter the cost. The journey ahead was uncertain, but he was ready to face whatever awaited him in the darkness. The staircase groaned under his weight as he slowly ascended, each step a testament to the house's decay. The wood, once sturdy and proud, now seemed to cry out in pain with every movement, as if the house itself was warning him to turn back. But he couldn't. He had to know what lay at the top. The air grew colder, the scent of decay intensifying. Cobwebs brushed against his face like ghostly fingers, sending shivers down his spine. Each step forward felt like a journey deeper into the unknown, the darkness around him growing thicker, more oppressive. The house seemed to be alive, breathing, watching. He could feel his heart pounding in his ears, each thud echoing the heavy beat of dread that pulsed within him. His breath came in short, ragged gasps, the fear almost tangible. It was as if the very walls were closing in, suffocating him with their ancient secrets and malevolent intent. The darkness seemed to press in around him, suffocating, alive. He shone his flashlight into the gloom, the beam swallowed by the oppressive shadows. It was as if the darkness had a life of its own, a malevolent force that sought to consume him. Every creak, every whisper of the wind felt like a sinister presence lurking just out of sight. The floorboards creaked ominously with every step, as if warning him of the horrors that lay ahead. Each sound was a reminder of the house's age, its history, and the countless souls that had walked these halls before him. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was not alone, that unseen eyes were watching his every move.
I can feel them watching me. The sensation was overwhelming, a constant prickling at the back of his neck. It was as if the very shadows were alive, filled with unseen entities that observed his every move with malevolent intent.
He imagined unseen eyes watching him from the darkness, their gaze filled with malice. But he continued his ascent, drawn upwards by an unseen force. It was as if something was calling to him, beckoning him to uncover the secrets that lay hidden in the shadows. The pull was irresistible, a siren's call that he could not ignore. He reached the top of the stairs and was met with a long, narrow hallway. The air here was stagnant and heavy, thick with the smell of decay and something else, something metallic and cloying. It was a scent that spoke of old blood, of violence and despair. The walls seemed to close in around him, the weight of the house's history pressing down on him, the smell of blood. His stomach churned, but he pressed on, his hand trembling as he gripped the flashlight tighter. The beam wavered, casting eerie shadows that danced on the walls, creating monstrous shapes that seemed to move and breathe. He had to keep going, had to find the source of the terror that gripped him. A single door stood ajar at the end of the hallway, a sliver of impenetrable darkness seeping out like ink. It was a portal to the unknown, a gateway to the heart of the house's malevolence. He knew that whatever lay beyond that door was the source of the fear that had gripped him since he entered. He knew instinctively that the source of the scream, the source of his mounting terror, lay beyond that threshold. The door seemed to pulse with a dark energy, a silent promise of the horrors that awaited him. But he had come this far, and there was no turning back now.
This is it. No turning back now. The words echoed in his mind, a mantra that steeled his resolve. He took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage he had left.
He knew instinctively that the source of the scream, the source of his mounting terror, lay beyond that threshold. The door seemed to pulse with a dark energy, a silent promise of the horrors that awaited him. But he had come this far.